Moving forward, I think we have some exciting technologies that we can soon start to rely on to control some of our glyphosate-resistant weed populations. I've already mentioned the herbicide Warrant in this presentation. The active ingredient of Warrant isn't new, but the encapsulated formulation is. And this encapsulated formulation ensures better crop safety and longer residual activity of the herbicide into the season. I've also talked some about the Liberty Link technology, or the cotton that is tolerant to the herbicide Liberty. There's Liberty Link alone, and there's some Glytol plus Liberty Link cotton varieties where the herbicide Roundup and the herbicide Liberty could be used in season. Some of our data would suggest that it would be best to use either a Liberty followed by Roundup or Roundup followed by Liberty sequential application, as opposed to putting those two herbicides in the tank and making one application with both active ingredients. In limited supply in 2015 and in much greater supply in 2016 and beyond will be the technology from Monsanto called Bollgard 2 Extend Flex Cotton. This will be our first triple stack cotton variety where the cotton will be tolerant to the herbicide Roundup and Ignite or Liberty, and will also be tolerant to the herbicide Clarity. And I think the use of Clarity in a pre-plant, pre-emergence, or post-emergence manner will greatly help us in our fight against glyphosate-resistant weeds. In some of the data that we've collected over the past couple of years, we've had tremendous success at controlling glyphosate-resistant weeds and a number of other weed species. But this truly will be a systems approach. To simply change the emphasis away from using glyphosate to using Clarity, likely some resistant populations to Clarity could build up over a relatively short period of time. So I think knowing that the resistance could occur in a glyphosate-only system probably makes sense that resistance could occur in now a Clarity-only system. So the importance of residual herbicides with this technology is really one of the best ways to steward the technology and ensure that it's going to last long, well into future growing seasons. Another technology that will rely on triple herbicide stack comes to us from Dow AgroScience, and that technology will be called Enlist. So in the Enlist cotton system, this cotton will tolerate the Roundup or glyphosate, it'll tolerate the Liberty or glufosinate, and it'll also tolerate 2,4-D, or a specific formulation or salt of 2,4-D, that being the choline salt. So like the Bollgard 2 Extend Flex Cotton, this technology will allow us to use 3 different herbicides, here relying a lot more on the herbicide 2,4-D and not Clarity. We've seen over the past couple of years very effective control of a number of different Palmer amaranth populations, but the key here again is going to be a systems approach, and not just heavily reliance on 2,4-D, but it's going to be relying on a number of residual herbicides to try to take some of the pressure off of the 2,4-D or the Roundup or the Liberty that can be used post-emergence in that system. I mentioned the Einzen sorghum technology mainly because this technology, I think, will allow us to use the herbicide staple in cotton much more frequently than we're using it today. Currently, there is an 18-month rotation restriction following a staple application in cotton before we can come back and plant sorghum. This technology will allow us to plant sorghum the following growing season. So I think a more heavily reliance on the herbicide staple pre-emergence and or post-emergence in cotton will likely increase in the near future. We've got Husky, which is a relatively new herbicide in grain sorghum that I think from a rotation standpoint will do a very good job of controlling some of these resistant populations in other crops. And we've got a few new active ingredients. I mentioned to you Zidua previously, which was recently labeled for use in a post-directed manner. And we're currently looking at a number of other active ingredients that we hope will be available in cotton within the next few years. So successful weed management is really based on several factors. It's understanding the weeds that we're trying to control, the weed population dynamics. It's doing the best job we can at integrating all of the strategies that are currently available, which would include mechanical, cultural, physical, and chemical control. It's making the appropriate herbicide selection for the pests that we're trying to control. Of course, this will be influenced by soil type and environmental conditions. Using the appropriate rate for the soil type, being timely with our residual and our post-emergent herbicides, considering tank mix partners, herbicides with different modes and mechanisms of action from a resistant management standpoint, and then even factors such as carrier volume, tank additives, spray tips, and the time of day we're making some of these herbicide applications all can influence the overall effectiveness of our herbicide treatments.